Welcome to Attican Plays Railway Empire. All right, welcome back to part 3, our final part of the first look at a random map. And we have gotten it down to 3 tasks remaining. We're well ahead of schedule in terms of getting those tasks done. We've got to move a bunch of passengers from Salina to Amarillo. We have to produce 14.4 veggies per week. Produce meaning we have to own the vegetable farms and produce and start to ship those goods. And so you'll see how we handle that coming up here shortly. And see, what's our third one? Oh, we have to own 21 businesses. Now we're getting to the point where our money's coming in pretty steadily. We're making good money now. And we're down to just our one competitor, the king of rails there, Don Lorenzo. He's going to cost us about $7 million if we decide to buy him out. And so we're basically, so here you go. Here's an example. Fruit orchard comes up in Cheyenne. Do I want it? Yes. Why do I want it? Because it's being auctioned, because it wasn't profitable. It's going to come at a reasonable price. Don Lorenzo doesn't want it, thank goodness. And they typically don't want the farms and mines. I've talked about that in other videos, but we got it, and there's one down for our 21. So we've got a few that we own, and we're going to have to keep buying them. But now that we have money, it's not a problem to buy the mines and mills and factories, so to speak. So since we did buy it, here's one of those cases where we're actually going to be smart and go ahead and hook it up. Although in a way we're being smart and duh at the same time, because that fruit industry, we're going to move it into Amarillo. And if I am not sadly mistaken, in the earlier video, we moved fruit from the south up to Amarillo. So we're going to have fruit coming both ways, but that's okay. At least we're making an attempt here to be wise and use our investment. Because I will tell you that I've talked about the point where I get sloppy, and I've reached that point in this one because I know I'm good now. I know I'm good. I know I've got, not to spoil the suspense, but I know I've got this one because we've got that line going from Salina to Amarillo. We've had it going practically the entire game. It's making good progress. We've got an attraction in Amarillo to give us more passengers, so we're good on that one. Buying industries is just a matter of having money, and we're going to have money. We have a really strong economy now. We've got solid lines going in multiple places, and our economy is solid, and we're in good shape there. So we can certainly buy industries. And then the 14.4 production could be a challenge, but we've got a way to do it that will make that pretty easy. So. And I keep teasing you with that one. I don't mean to. Now, here's an interesting thing. I thought I had these merges pretty much down cold, but I messed this one up. But it turns out I didn't mess up the merge. I actually messed up something else, and you'll see what it is. Kind of one of my classic mistakes. I always seem to leave a gap somewhere, and this one comes down to a gap in the line. And we notice a market crier popped up. Anytime you've got a goal for mail or passengers, keep your eye peeled for market criers and grab them whenever you can. We've actually already got one going for comfort. We're going to start another one because we want to keep those passengers flowing. We want a lot of passengers. It'll help us with our passengers throughout our network, but of course, the ones we really want are from Salina to Amarillo. And back to discuss this in earlier video, but we've set up Salina as kind of a hub, so it's taking traffic from San Francisco to the west, further to the west, Tucson, to the southwest of it, Omaha, and down to the South Rock Island. All these are feeding into 3 of them directly into Salina, in the case of Rock Island, through Omaha into Salina. They're all feeding into Salina, and then Salina goes up to Amarillo, and that way you can go to points north. The idea being that you can funnel as much of that rail traffic as possible to Salina so that they will load up on those trains going up to Amarillo. And it works the other way around. You can make money as well. Anybody from Amarillo or Cheyenne or Raton who wants to go to the south is going to take that Amarillo to Salina return trip, and then go from there to go to the south. But the main one, of course, we're looking for is moving Salina to Amarillo. That's our task. So anyway, there's not a lot left to say at this point. We're continuing. You can see how many, we've got strong employees everywhere, and part of the benefit of that, one, we've just been diligent in hiring them whenever they came available, but we've also bought out Beatrix and got a bunch of employees from her. Doc hadn't done so well, but we got 10 employees from him, so we've got to grab those. And we've got our trains are kind of loaded up with really good staff now. And what we're doing now is to bump up that Amarillo to Salina a little more. And you'll notice we've been running the Grasshopper this whole time for all 4 or 5 years that we've been going here. And here comes another opportunity. We'll buy that industry. I didn't even look at it. I didn't even care where it was. I just bought it. So what we're doing here is upgrading all those Grasshoppers on that one line, that one passenger line from Salina to Amarillo to I'm really having a brain cramp here. To that train right there. What's it called? John Bull. Oh my word. Sorry. Maybe it's getting a little late. Maybe I need to take a break. But we've got the we're upgrading to the John Bull on that line, the Salina to Amarillo and Amarillo to Salina. And there we found one. I had people set up on the line and forgot to put the train on it. So that would be helpful if they actually had a train. Maybe they would make more money for us. But we're getting those trains all upgraded to the John Bull. That'll make them faster, make them more attractive to the passengers. Now, what we're doing now in our research is trying to target trains. Actually, I typically don't worry so much. And here I realize, man, I got enough money. Why don't I just do them all? So I could have saved myself all that work and just simply done an update, and which I ended up doing anyway. So now everything is running a John Bull. So that's good, because that's just going to make our whole economy take off because of the extra speed and extra power. Just think of it as, we have all these trains running, just crawling along, and now they're running faster. They're handling the inclines better. Everything is going to accelerate now thanks to that change in train. So the trains matter in this game. It matters what train you run, and it matters whether or not you run the right train, a freight train or an express train. So what I was about to say a minute ago was we're targeting our research now to get out there to get specifically to the Reindeer. The Reindeer is the first train that shows up that's actually an express train. It is made to carry passengers. It doesn't have much tractive power, but it is pretty fast for this time period. And in fact, it's faster than the last train in the line. The most advanced train is the Philadelphia, which is also, of course, the first train for the 1850 to 1870 era. But this 1830 to 1850, the Philly is the last train, the best train. However, that Reindeer is actually faster. So what we're going to try to do here is work our way out toward the Philadelphia, but we're going to take that Reindeer and put it on this line eventually to make this an even more attractive line for people to use. Now, another thing we could have done, just to like another critique of the game, my style of playing, first of all, predicated on what I think is a good strategy, which is build cities, run your automatic lines, carry your freight, get your beer, meat lines, etc., and grow the cities and make your passenger and mail traffic grow because your cities are getting bigger. That to me makes the most sense. However, the one thing that I don't do that I really should do, and this is probably, again, laziness on my part. That's the theme for this whole little series here, is how lazy I am, I guess. But what we really should be doing here is making a second line that is passenger only, so that we're getting these express lines, and then of course getting those express trains on them. Now, back in the 1830 to 1850, as we just discussed, you don't even have an true express train until the Reindeer, which is toward the end. In fact, typically, if you've played well in these scenarios, you're done before the Reindeer ever pops up on your research. But when it's there, it's there. But even if you had to run the slower freight train, having it be passenger only, it will run faster because it's not carrying that heavy freight, and it can go faster. So here we go. We just upgraded to the Jervis, and now we've got an even faster train. And we're looking at, see, our money is starting to accumulate quickly now. And so we can even think about, here we go, bingo. We just did the John Bull. Now here, a few minutes later, we do the Jervis. So off we go with a whole new set of trains that are even faster. Now, did we waste money by doing that twice? Of course we did. Was it a good thing to do? Yes and no. As far as hitting our objectives, yes. As far as, being frugal with our money, of course not. But that's not the point right now. Again, like right here, I'm buying that industry. I don't even know what it is. Don't care. I'm just buying it because I want to get that over with. I want to get this done. So I have hit that point where I've kind of, okay, this is done. Let's just finish it. Sorry about that. I'll work on that and try to become a better player. And I'd love, again, I'll say this. I said this in the first one. I'll say it again. I hope you guys will, some of you who are really good players, I know you're out there, guys who are much better players than I am, will take this seed and this code and run this little 8-city 20 industry setup on Trainiac and nail this thing. Kick this scenario's butt, so to speak, and then post your results and let us know how you did it, what strategy you took. It'd be really interesting to see what you're doing. Now, here's a good example of I mentioned in an earlier one about how early in the game you take those professors because you need the money sometimes. Well, now late in the game, I've got a different thing. I want to get out there to those faster trains to build up my passenger traffic and move them quicker or more quickly. And so now the research points are more important to me, and so I took the inventor there rather than the professor. So I spent money to buy points, and the other reason is because obviously now look at our income; it just keeps going up and up and up, really, almost as fast as we can spend it. Actually, faster than we can spend it. And that being said, and look at the size of the bonds that we can open, just huge amount of bonds, and now we've got like $7-8 million to play with, and you can guess what's going to happen with that $8 million, of course. Bye-bye, Mr. Don Lorenzo. He's gone too. We're going to keep his stuff around because he's got some nice connections to other things. I was hoping to pick up a lot of industries from him because a lot of times he will buy a lot of stuff, but it doesn't seem like we got a lot from him. But at any rate, we're up to 11 out of 21 now. And look at those employees. I kind of groan when I see this because now it's 63 staff to deal with. In fact, I believe I let some of them just go. They time out on you. I did use a technique. I have used it in the past. You've probably seen it. And look at how much money I paid for that veggies. But I don't care at this point because, again, if I had spending a couple million on this now is much less painful than spending, say, $400,000 on it early in the game. So you want to think about that, and you want to think about what are you going to do, how are you going to buy these things, and realize that while that price you may think, oh, it's so wasteful, you could have had that for $400,000 earlier. I totally disagree because it's not just how much you spend, it's when you spend it that really matters. So I would argue that $2 million right there was a much better deal than $400,000 would have been back in part one of this, back when we first started. But anyway, be that as it may, here's the trick for getting that 14.4 veggie production. We're going to set up a couple of warehouses. Now, what do warehouses do for us? They kind of create instant demand. So they give us a place to ship goods. Now, when you're producing something, and this is worth knowing, when you have a task that says produce at a certain rate in a certain time, like in this case, 14.4 veggies per week, you have to have the capacity in whatever produces that item. So in our case, the vegetable farms has to be leveled up to the point where it can produce that fast. But you also have to be able to ship it out at that rate. So you're not going to get there if you're just piling it up on a platform somewhere. It has to be shipped somewhere. So you have to have a combination of shipping, loading up a train and taking it somewhere, and the production of that in whatever it is, whether it's a city factory or a rural station, like in this case, a farm. So what we're going to do here, you probably figured it out now, we're going to set up warehouses near each of those two veggie farms. Then we're going to upgrade those farms all the way up to level 5 on each of them. That's going to cost a small fortune. But we're going to do that because now, again, that small fortune is a relative thing, and now we've got lots of money, so it's not so painful. We're going to bump those up to both of them to level 5 because that's what it's actually going to take for us to hit 14.4. We're going to bump them both up to level 5, have lines set up going to warehouses, and have several trains lined up, queued up and ready to go, and then fire them off together, and voila, the next thing you know, within a few seconds, we're up to 14.4. So there I just gave away what's coming up down the road. But that's the idea, and you'll see it in action here in a little bit. So I'm just continuing to load up my lines, and I got all these employees that we got from Don Lorenzo. And the good news now is we don't have any competition. They've helped us. We've used them. Don Lorenzo was a big help. He was successful, and he was a big help because he grew Omaha, and that helped us hit our 240,000. Without him, I don't know if we could have made it on our own without his help. Without him contributing to the growth of Omaha, this would have been much tougher to hit that 240,000 the way we did. But because we were able to connect to the city he was growing, we were able to do it. So again, we were able to use our competition. Now we got rid of them because they are a pain. And where the biggest pain is this right here, the office personnel. They'll go steal your office personnel. They'll put those headhunters out there and grab your office personnel. And then you end up, you hire this guy, spend money to hire him, and then he's gone and you lose the benefits. So now without them gone, we'll basically have those three as long as we want them, and new people may come along that are better, but we will be able to keep our office personnel and get to all those bonuses. So now we're starting the process of upgrading this veggie farm, and we're going to bump it up as high as we can get it. And now you can see we already built the warehouse down for the southern vegetable farm, and now we're going to build one for this northern one. And we've got that second platform, so we're just run a straight line down there into the warehouse. Now, eventually, obviously, if this was, a real, quote, real, unquote, business, and we were wanting to make money, we wouldn't just throw vegetables in a warehouse. But even if we did, we could then hook this warehouse out and ship these vegetables out wherever we wanted to. But this has a special purpose, again, to help us get that 14.4 veggies per week production. So we're up to level 4 here. We got one more upgrade to do on this particular farm. And the one we bought down there for a small fortune, the good news is we bought it was already up at a high level, so we don't have to pay for as many upgrades. So it might have even turned out to be cheaper now that I think about it. I'd have to look at the math on that, but we may have actually gotten a bargain by paying so much money for that one, ironically enough. So we'll keep on that to get our vegetable production. This Amarillo to Salina, what we're doing, we'll just keep making sure they've got great staff and the best trains we can get. That's what we can do. We want Salina to grow because a bigger city will pump more people to other places, and we already grew. Actually, they're both grown nicely now, and here we're going to put a museum in Salina to help it continue to grow, so that it can keep going. It's already up to a level 4. It's already up over 70,000. It's a good-sized city. And here we've got an opportunity to buy a tool maker. This is another great way to buy. I think I mentioned this before. If you need to buy industries, go look for those bad industries, those ones that got put in the city that never should have been there. That tool maker, it's so hard to get all those pieces on this map to make it a profitable business. However, you can certainly buy it and tear it down and put something in there that will make money. And that's what we're looking at right here. I'm deciding on what would make money. And if I recall correctly, I decided on a paper mill because we do have logs nearby that we can supply. So we're going to tear that baby down and replace it with something that makes money. And it's not just that makes the money, it also, because it's producing now, it will help to feed the growth of the city it's in and the cities that it ships to. And Salina, remember, ships to practically everybody because it's kind of our hub. So that paper mill can supply paper to San Francisco, to Tucson, to Amarillo, and to Omaha, provided they're big enough to take it. And some of them are, for sure. Amarillo, San Francisco, Omaha, for sure, are that big. And there's the reindeer. And you can see the express rating on it and the highest passenger rating on it. So that's the one we're targeting for this line from Salina to Amarillo. So I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to not fast forward. It's really hard for me. It's just in my nature to just want to move ahead, if you haven't figured that out. I am an impatient person. So I'm trying to be a good boy and just let this run so that you can see everything I do. And I'm trying to think of intelligent things to say, but, that's stretching it for me. So maybe I'll just shut up for a little bit. Now you notice there I started to build the line to that warehouse down in the south for the veggies, and I changed my mind because I want them to run in tandem. I want them to run and start together. So I wanted to make sure I had level 5 for both of my vegetable farms. So now I'm starting to, I leveled up that northern farm one more time, and now I'm looking at setting up the line. I want to make sure everything's ready to go, and I want it all to run together, as in parallel. I want the two lines, the two vegetable lines to the warehouses, to run concurrently, and it's important that they do. So I'm going to put 3 trains on that line, and I'm going to run down here as quickly as my little mouse will let me, and build the line on the other end. And get it started. Okay, now we've got trains lined up, stacked up, ready to take the vegetables. We've got the demand set up in the warehouse, and now we can look at our production It's up to 2.38. Now it's suddenly jumped to almost 5. Now it's over 6. Now it's over 9. There's 11.4. Now it's only been like a few seconds. So 13.7, and there we go. We just hit our goal. So keep that technique in mind, because there are scenarios out there, even the existing pre-programmed scenarios, which require you to do a certain amount of production. I think there's oil production in the black gold scenario. There's others that require that. So keep that technique we just did there in mind if you have that problem and you need to get that production up. Because it's not easy to get a weekly production goal in some of these things. It can be a challenge. But using that technique we just used there, you can see how easy that was. And it took it, 30 seconds to hit our number after we got it started. So there's the great mystery of the 14.4 weekly production of vegetables. Now you can see we're just buying industries almost indiscriminately, rather sloppily, I'll have to admit. But we're just going to buy what's out there. We go out here to this poor town. Well, that one was expensive, wasn't it? That sawmill was reasonably priced. So we grabbed it. And where are we sitting? We're looking pretty good on the industry. We've got to buy a few more. And we'll just go around and keep buying the industries. And then then it's just well, actually, I take that back. I was getting ready to set up a fast forward, and I must bite my tongue and not do it again, because there is one more thing to show you. So we'll just keep going. We'll keep going with this and keep it running. Now, you will notice, of course, the veggies will run until they get the warehouses full, and then they'll stop. And, of course, what we would do if we were a better player and a more diligent player, we would run lines from the veggie warehouses to all the cities that are big enough to take the vegetables. But, of course, I didn't do that because it's not one of my objectives, and I'm kind of done with this. But those of you who are better players would certainly do that and make up a whole bunch of money on your vegetables. As it is, my veggie farms are probably losing money because they're set up at such a high level to produce, yet they're not being able to sell at that level. But again, no matter, we've got more money than we could ever use. And here we actually start placing universities, because we want to get our research up, and we want to get those better trains, and particularly the reindeer, so that we can improve our Salina to Amarillo line. And so we're going to put in a university when we have the opportunity. Each university gives you 4 more innovation points a month. It's not exactly a staggering amount. I don't think they can help, obviously. Obviously, any research helps. But I don't think they even touch a museum for their importance in terms of building cities or building your economy or anything, or hitting goals or anything. I don't think they even approach the importance of a museum. But no matter. So we've used museums and universities and attractions in this one, so that's pretty good. We're becoming more rounded players, I guess. So again, we're just waiting on that the last 2. I'm just trying to buy whatever I can buy to get to our 21 industry zone, and want to knock that out as fast as I can, because I certainly don't want to wait until after I have my 9,000, because I know the 9,000 passengers to Amarillo is the slowest one, and it's the one that while I'm working diligently toward it, it's the one in some ways I have least control over, because I can't really do anything about it. I'm doing everything I can that I can think of, other than, like I said earlier, running more and more express lines everywhere to increase traffic for passengers. And we're kind of looking as we're just buying everything that isn't nailed down or just ridiculously overpriced. Now that meat line, that cattle ranch there is costly, and frankly it's worth it, because we've been shipping cattle from there for a long time. So it's worth a lot of money. Now let's see what we get here. All right, we've got to wait. We need 300 to make any move now toward that reindeer. So the one over there is one called Express Trains, and it's the earliest research in 1850. It's the last one of the two last researches in the 1870 on this train and locomotive um, tree, and it gives you 8% more passengers. So we would have loved to have had that, but the reindeer, of course, is the one we really want. We need 300 plus unlocking something to get it. Now these cars are nice, but they don't help us with our goal. Like the dining car doesn't give you more passengers. It just gives you more profit from your passengers. And in fact, if you happen to have a full load, which you almost never do in passengers after you get going, but if you did have a full load, a dining car would actually hurt you because you would be able to you would take less passengers, and we were about number of passengers, not how much money we make. But be that as it may, it would be perfectly fine to get the dining car and then put that on all your express trains. So here we go. We're building another university because we want to get that research going. There we go. I think we just bought our 21st industry with that business down in Rock Island. And I've said before, I don't pay blackmail. I don't negotiate with terrorists. So there we have a business not making any money. It doesn't have any logs. We could fix that. In fact, I just circled there where the logs are. We could fix that, but again, we're kind of done at this point, so we're not going to fix it. And we're waiting on our research to come to give us the reindeer. So now we've got our 300. We can work our way toward the train, and we're going to have to get that GSM American, and we're going to have to unlock something next to it to get it. So we're going to take that train, the Dunham, right next to it. And we look at the Dunham and the Jervis, and the Dunham is actually slower. Might have been okay. It would have been okay to use it, but the Jervis is just fine. In fact, it's a little faster, so we'll just stay with the Jervis. And we actually have, now here's interesting, Tucson, which was growing, is dwindling. Now, why is it dwindling? Because it used to get some stuff from Don Lorenzo, from those rural businesses down in the south. It got some sugar and corn from down there. And we haven't, we bought Don Lorenzo, we kept his infrastructure, but being the lazy player that I am, I haven't done anything with it. I've had other things I've been more interested in. Let's put it like that. That's a better way to put it. And so we haven't really used his line. Now we should, of course, I should be building this stuff out. And I am going to make a small effort here and move some logs over there. And we'll probably do a little more cleanup and move some stuff into Tucson, because I just can't stand seeing them dwindle. That just seems sad to me, to see the cities dying off. So we'll give them some logs and help them out a little bit. So here we're going to finally hook up one of those lines down in the south. We had to build our double track, of course, but we're going to hook up that corn to run up to Tucson and give it back a resource it's been getting all along until we bought out Don Lorenzo. So we had to do some funky changes to the track there, kind of repurpose the track and move the corn line over down to platform 2 there coming out of that station. So because we used platform 1 for the logs. And there was an interesting thing. I used that automatic placement and actually put a second signal right behind my first one, and that may address a mystery. Some of you may recall on one of our scenarios I had a line that wasn't working properly because there were 2 signals right behind each other just like that, and maybe that's what happened. I'll blame it on the tool. Obviously it wasn't my error. It had to be the tool. Yeah, right. Okay, I'm not even buying that one. I'm sure you're not. Okay, so now we also want to go ahead and hook up that. It's easy enough now that we have that double line going down there. Easy enough now to hook sugar in and run sugar into Tucson as well. So we've given them logs and corn and sugar, and that's going to change everything. That's going to go probably from dwindling to growing, which is great. It's kind of neither here nor there as far as our objectives are concerned, but it's still good all the same. Now I bought that textile industry in Amarillo, not because I needed it or it was a good deal or anything, because it wasn't, but just so I could upgrade it, because I wanted to supply the needs of Amarillo and help Amarillo grow, and I want its demand to be a huger portion, a larger portion of the total demand in Amarillo, so that Amarillo can stay on a growth trajectory within reason. We don't have a museum in there, so that really makes it more difficult. We've got the attraction, which we need. And, we could have gone the other route with this and just kept growing Amarillo bigger and bigger. That would stimulate passengers to an extent, but I think that 20% attraction bonus for passengers was just too much to pass up. But at any rate, it all seems to be working. You saw there were around 7,000 now out of our 9,000. It's only September of 1836, and we've got till 1846, I believe, is the deadline on hitting our goal. So that means if that's 16, 17 years, we want about 8.5 years we want to be done. So somewhere around 1838-ish would be our target for getting this last task done in order to get full credit for it. Because they give you the guideline that full marks are basically hitting these things in 50% of the roughly 50% of the time allotted. So you can't just hit these things on their date. You have to be early to really get full marks. So now we're closing in on the reindeer. So now I go to do something that is going to help us again in anticipation of having the reindeer. The reindeer is an express train. It's not going to haul freight very well, so you could actually put it on this line, and if we're continuing to haul freight mixed in with our mail and passengers, it's actually going to hurt us. It's not going to help us, because it's going to struggle to haul that freight. But we're going to change everything to a passenger mail only line, which is virtually all it runs anyway. And that way, we know we're set up for when we get the reindeer. And this was one of those things that was kind of smart and stupid at the same time, I guess, because I could have waited until I had the reindeer and done both these changes at the same time, but it's kind of clumsy, so it's fine. And in hindsight, it's fine. So we went in and changed them all to passenger lines, and now I've got a few security guards on some of those, which we certainly don't need. You certainly don't need a security guard on the passenger line, and I want to use them on my direct lines that, like here, like this Brown Clearing to Amarillo, which is hauling freight. That's where that security guard should be. So we're going to take all the security guards that we freed up or we had out there that weren't assigned and get them on those freight lines. So now we're just setting ourselves up for the reindeer, which is going to be kind of irrelevant because you can see we're already at 8,000 passengers. We only got 1,000 more to go. So by the time we get the reindeer, it's kind of hooray for us, but we may not care. Now, the interesting thing, we could, if we wanted to, we could have gotten the Philadelphia right away, but I've kind of decided I wanted a reindeer, so by golly, we're going to have a reindeer. This is just a correction I failed when I made that earlier video. I bought that salt mine, set up a line knowing that it wasn't going to get used until San Francisco grew to 90,000. Well, San Francisco's there now. That line is getting used, and we're getting profit out of our salt mine. The only problem is I forgot to put it. It came in because of the bridge that's nearby. It couldn't connect up with that supply tower down there, so it needed a supply tower. So that's the fix we made. and we're getting very close to having our little reindeer. There we go. So now we can go back to those lines and swap out the trains, upgrade all the trains on there to reindeer. And one of the changes they made that if I had a comment on it, I'd say, I wish you hadn't done that. I like to be able to click a line and get all the trains from that line queued up. But the problem is the way this screen right here works, it alphabetizes. So once I'm going through the Amarillo to Salina, when I get to the last one, it goes to the next alphabetical one rather than going to the Salina to Amarillo, which is the line, to me, the same line going back the other direction. And so you have to be careful because you'll start putting, in fact, I made a mistake here a couple of times where I'm putting staff on lines that are really freight lines by accident because I'm thinking I'm getting all these lines that are running between Salina and Amarillo. But anyway, be as it may. So now we've got express trains running on express lines, and by express, that's the old term they used to use for passenger mail only lines. So we've got a passenger mail only line running between Salina and Amarillo. We've got an express train on it, which is great. That'll stimulate even more passengers, and we're almost there. And here I realize I inherited this line, didn't even put anything on it. I'm going to run a single train with corn, and that's why I'm not even bothering to double track or put well, it's got a tower. I'm not going to double track it because I know it's only going to be one train running. It's a short line. One train can pump corn into Amarillo without any trouble. So I'm really just twiddling my thumbs right now and waiting on us, and we're at 8,950. We're almost there. All right, so it's April 1837. There we go. I was just going to say we've got to be really close. So let's see how we did. Got our presence rating, 10 out of 10, but 19.9 out of 20, which is just a groan. It's like a tease. Really wanted 20. And I don't know exactly where we came up short, and that's something I've said this before. I wish they would fix that and let us know how we did versus each of the tasks so that you know what it is you didn't quite do as well as you might have. That would be very helpful, I think, to if you're going to have a rating, then tell people how you base that rating. That would be an improvement opportunity as they keep developing the game. I hope they'll take a look at that. I know that Jerome Weston has logged a defect about the fact that the difficulty does not account for the Pro and Trainiac, and there's certainly supposed to be more difficult than normal mode, and certainly Trainiac with those incredibly rising station costs is definitely harder. There's no question about that. And I think that should be reflected. And the defect is that you can actually play a game on free mode and take more cash and have a higher difficulty rating than when you take less cash, which makes no sense at all. So that does need to be addressed for sure. At any rate, great game. Love the game. Enjoyed the random map very much. I enjoyed playing this. As much as I talked about being bored with the, at the end, that's the way I am with everything once I've got it, once I know I've got it. So don't, take that with a grain of salt. I truly enjoyed playing this game. Hope you enjoyed watching it. Hope you got something out of it that you can use in your gameplay. And I hope some of you good players will take those same seed and setup and go out and really show us how this should be done. So thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next Railway Empire video. Thank you.